Hi, I'm Brian, and today I'm going to be doing a response to the thread set up by Static Traveller. Thank you, Static Traveller, on the list 1000 albums you must hear before you die. And the idea is to come up with 5 albums that you would advocate to get into that list, maybe at the expense of others. Now, I'm not a huge fan of this idea of you must hear things or you have to hear this. You listen to what you want to. And if any of these albums appeal to you, then give them a listen. It'd be great if you did. Now, I'm choosing all of my albums from Australia, but I'm not choosing those top tier artists of recognition like In Excess or Men at Work or Air Supply or the Little River Band. I'm going with a bunch of albums which are probably well known in Australia, but may not be as well known overseas. Although every time I try and buy an Australian album on Discogs, it seems that the only place you can find them are overseas. Anyway, let's begin with Hunters and Collectors from 1982, their debut album. And if you know Hunters and Collectors from a few albums in, then this is almost completely a different band, or it sounds like a completely different band. And this is put out on a gatefold by White Records. Now, very interestingly, the head of um, Mushroom Records, which was the biggest label in Australia at the time, he was desperate to get Hunters and Collectors to sign a contract with them, and they wouldn't. They wanted their autonomy, they wanted their independence, those rude boys. And so the only way that Gudinski could sort of get it together was to start a label called White Records. And this is what they got, a gatefold sleeve on their first album, 2 records in there, their own label. I mean, that's pretty damn cool. But more importantly, the music on this album is pretty damn cool as well. I don't know what we'd call it, a brutal, tribalistic funk, post-punk. If that sounds a bit off-putting, it shouldn't be, because these songs are very approachable, just scary in a way. And I love this album to death. I particularly would like to talk about some songs like the first single, Talking to a Stranger. It begins with him singing, with Mark Seymour singing in French. Oh my God, he spoke French. Uh, Incredible song. It's an assault, and it's got a groove that works for about 7 minutes, right from start to finish, and totally brilliant. As is a video that you can watch on YouTube of the single of this, and the name of the song was Talking to a Stranger. I also really love Alligator Engine, which is the second track, and that starts off with sort of a disco groove, even a disco whistle going. The bass comes in, and we've got a real post-punk tribal funk masterpiece here. It really feels as though they are subverting common musical laws on this album, and that only increases with the next song, which is Skin of Our Teeth, which begins with a tolling of bells, cymbals, crazy electronic slash washboard effect. It's kind of weird. It's like going back to the 13th, or updating the sound of the 13th floor elevators. And the tension begins as Mark just plays out these few notes on the guitar, bum 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 bum, and he sings over the top of it. And it's just this slow burner which begins and begins, and it never seems to let go. And then all of a sudden we have the shock of the bass coming in, and then the full band comes in. It's incredible. It's like they're almost like creating whale sounds in the middle of this as well, which takes us back to the dawn of time. It's a brilliant side of music, one of the best sides of music I've ever heard. And if it sounds like you're into it, or if you make it through that first side, then you'll be ready for the second side, which starts with Scream Who. So that's Hunters and Collectors' debut album. Absolutely brilliant. I'm going to follow this up with, from 1983, The Machinations, and this album is called Esteem. It's wonderful. It's also released on the White label, the White Records. But notice how each of the bands gets their own sort of personalized label. I think it's really cool. And in the middle, you get some lyrics, and you get this groovy poster of the entire band as well. So we can see on White Records, White Label Records, that no expense was spared to support their artists. Some tracks off this I really like. Esteem is really cool. It's the opening track, sort of almost in many ways, almost got unintelligible lyrics. We've still got the drum machine off their EPs before that, and that's not the only. It might be about the only time that we do on this album. And Freddie singing Yippee-yi-yay, Yippee-yi-yo, Yippee-I-O, what a wonderful day, or something like that. It's really cool, but it's followed by what I would almost consider to be a perfect entry point if you've never been into the Machinations before. And the song is called Precious Sway. This is a real set of drums and a funk workout. I love the section where they're going, got you where I want you, got you where I want you, got you where I want you. And the music builds up behind that, and then it explodes into this super cool rhythm guitar solo. Yes, I really recommend that song, Precious Way or Precious Way. Precious Way or Precious Way. Really cool. And then another song I would absolutely recommend is the song Jack, which was the second single on the album. And this is an ode to Jack Kerouac and the idea that Freddie wants to go back. He wants to take some of that 1960s LSD, yo, yo, yo. He wants to, it's his sort of expression of love for the counterculture of the United States, driving across America with all these drugs going on, etc. But, the interesting thing is that this was a very accessible song, and it sort of made the jump from this album, Esteem, and then moving on to the more commercialized that's the hit single No Say in It. For those of you who like a post-punk epic, you can't go much better than Terminal Wharf. And The Hunt, the final song on the album, is really cool, but one gets the feeling that they've been listening to some Joy Division in the making of this album. You can guess which album it was. So that's 1983's Esteem by the Machinations. Cool album and great packaging again. Love to move on now to the next album is by a band called Do Re Mi, and this is their album Domestic Harmony, and it's a very ironic and tongue-in-cheek sort of title, very much like the tongue-in-cheekness of the Institute of Pop. Great band. Inner sleeve comes with pictures of the band. Fantastic combination. We've got wonderful four-piece there and lyrics on the back. Now, some songs that I really would recommend to you here. I love the song Idiot Grin, which was a single, I believe, and Cuttlefish Beach is really great as well. But one of the big songs for me is Warnings Moving Clockwise. It's very epic. It's a real epic, and it's very eerie. And it even has dun, 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 a key change in it. Oh, no. And it works. Every time I seem to point out that I hate key changes, I talk about a key change, which I think really works. And there's this mega moment at the end where all of the band cut out and we just hear Deb Conway finishing it unaccompanied. Deb Conway is an incredible singer, and Helen is a brilliant bass player, and Dorland on drums and Stephen on guitars. They're seamless. It's absolutely wonderful. I probably can't go past without talking about the lead single off this, which was called Man Overboard, which shocked the nation in many ways at the time, because it mentioned ideas and situations that hadn't been previously really mentioned on radio before. They're talking about the power of the female, the scornful looking at the way men behave, and that toxic masculinity. Really cool. And I also love the other song I really like is New Taboos, which, even though it says New Taboos, is really timeless post-punk funk. The swells of sound are cool. The rhythm section is tight as, and I love the vocals on this. Deb Conway is a very much underrated singer by people who don't give her a real chance. One of Australia's great singers is Deb Conway. So let's move on now to 1992. You knew it was coming. And this is 1992, Priest equals Aura, and this is the music on vinyl repressing from 2021. I love the repressing. It sounds absolutely amazing. But unlike white label records, no gatefold this time. It's nice cardboard matte packaging, which is really cool. But the albums are just inside, and they're on a poly inner. Now, this is with the original Arista labels. Now, I believe this on vinyl was only released in Germany, and they cut off one of the songs, which was awesome because they wanted to fit it all onto two sides of music, and the song they cut was Dome, which, how can you cut that? How can you cut anything off this? Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this album because I'm going to do a deep dive video, the next in my series of church albums. I will talk about some of these songs. Aura is still often played live by the band, sometimes as the opening track of the concert. It's a church classic, absolutely brilliant. I love Swan Lake. The delicacy, the beauty of this is sort of testament to the emotions that Steve Kilbey can feel, and particularly thinking about his daughters in here. What other songs do I love? I can't go past the Disillusionist, which I think Kilby talks about. It's one part hymn, one part imaginary hymn. And Old Flame is a beautiful, necessary, sublime song which sort of removes the anger and the narcissism of the Disillusionists and gets us ready for Chaos, which is the big epic on this album. And then we have Film to finish, which is like the ending credits of a film, in the soundtrack to a film. This is an amazing album. Many people rate Priest Equals Aura as their best album. Again, I'm not sure that I like the idea of best albums, but it's right up there in my top 2 or 3 favorite albums. Now, the band with J.D. Doherty, or Doherty, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, replacing Richard Plug on drums, Marty Wilson Piper and Pete Koppes on guitars, have never sounded better, have never sounded more ethereal and sublime and dreamy. So if you have not heard this album and you've dabbled a little with the church, I really recommend it to you. So my album for inclusion here is by Underground Lovers, and the album is called Ways to Burn. Now, this album came out in 1997, but the band has just been re-releasing or self-releasing a lot of their albums now on vinyl, and it sounds absolutely wonderful. I was lucky enough to catch Underground Lovers when they were supporting Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark not so long ago, and they were a perfect band to get the crowd excited and pumped and ready for OMD. Really cool. But the idea here is if you want sort of a fragile sense of psychedelia with tinges of dance and groove and those sorts of things, and this album's sort of might be right up your alley. And I love the idea that Vince, the lead singer, is sort of in our heads with the vocals. It seems so close. It's completely ethereal at times, like with the opening track, All Is Quiet. And then we also have Under the Microscope. Beautiful, peaceful, sublime songs. We get some sense of the dance grooves here on Star Signs, which reminds me a little bit of the Verve, to tell you the truth. And I love the drums and bass are from Jumbled in the Common Box. It's got a nice bass drone going throughout. It's a freaky freak out. It's cool. And if you want an epic closer, then go no further than I Feel So Cold. This one sort of again reminds me of the Verve, but there's sort of taking me into Boards of Canada, a la circa Campfire Head Phase, that album. Really cool. So those are the 5 albums that I am advocating for inclusion in this 1001 out 1000, this clickbait nonsense of a book, but at least it gets us talking and thinking and maybe inspired to listen to music. I don't know. I'm on the fence here. That you must hear, that you might like to hear before you go to the next stage, the next place, the next phase, whatever. And I hope that this video might inspire you to listen to some of these bands if you haven't heard them before, or revisit them if you have heard these albums in the past, because I feel they'll give you a lot of pleasure. And remember, if music of any size, shape, style, or substance gives you pleasure, then who am I to argue with your opinion? Thanks again to Static Traveler for setting up this thread. And I really appreciate your comments. And maybe on the way down to leaving a comment, you could hit the like button and maybe even subscribe, because I know you want to. Anyway, it's been a total blast. Until next time, which I'm looking forward to, I'd like to say I hope you're doing really well, staying cool, and bye now.